noi dobbiamo essere fieri di quella identità e nel celebrare il Natale particolarmente possiamo esserlo. Io non vi voglio tediare oltre, voglio dirvi che oltre a ringraziarvi per il vostro lavoro vi voglio bene, perché ormai noi siamo una famiglia, una squadra, combattiamo tutto l'anno, l'anno che abbiamo trascorso è stato tosto per tutti noi, ma non vi preoccupate, il prossimo sarà molto peggio.
This is my video update on this Wednesday afternoon, December the 24th, coming to you from Nicicoia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And we had some breaking news this morning, which is that the Green Goblin has published the 20-point peace plan, his 20-point peace plan. The peace plan has been published. Hey, Podolyak? Podolyak, where are you, Podolyak? Where did Podolyak go? You fired him, Mr. President. Oh no, I fired Podolyak. Anyway, he posted his 20-point peace plan. I imagine this is the plan that Ukraine was working on with the Europeans, along with the input from Kushner and Witkoff at the meeting in Berlin. And look, the 20-point peace plan is nothing new. I won't get into any of the details of it, to be quite honest, because we've gone over the Ukraine-European peace plans for the past month or so. And this peace plan doesn't differ from anything that we've discussed in the past. It talks about Article 5, guarantees, Article 5 like guarantees. It talks about money and reparations and an 800,000, I believe it said 800,000 strong military, getting into the EU, a fast track into the EU, and the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. It says it's undecided. The ZMPP is undecided, but most likely it'll be some sort of cooperation with the United States handling things at the ZMPP and Ukraine and Russia playing some sort of part. That's what the plan says, something along those lines. And then it talks about the territory, the Donbass, and it says that Ukraine will not leave whatever territory they're currently on in the Donbass, where the military is at the moment. And it says there should be a freeze, and if they can't agree to a freeze, then Plan B is the Trump economic zone plan. Turn it into some sort of economic zone. And it also says that Russia has to withdraw from everywhere else on the front line, Sumy, Kharkov, anywhere, Dnipropetrovsk region, anywhere the Russian military is on the front line. Whatever advances they've made, they have to withdraw their military. That's the 20-point peace plan that the Green Goblin published. And the BBC and other mainstream media in the collective West is making it as if Ukraine is making big concessions. That's how they're positioning it, as expected. Zelensky says Ukrainian withdrawal from the East possible in latest peace plan. And it's not really a withdrawal from the East. It's a freeze. And if you can't get a freeze, then it's an economic zone, whatever that even means, or however that's going to work, an economic zone. So Russia is going to not even entertain this peace plan. They're not even going to discuss this 20-point peace plan that Zelensky has published with the United States. That's clear. But anyway, that was some breaking news from this morning. And yesterday we had a plane carrying Libyan government officials crash in Turkey. They were meeting with Turkish officials, and the plane The plane crashed as it was asking for an emergency landing. It took off, and then it asked for an emergency landing, and then it crashed, and everyone on board this plane died. This was breaking news from yesterday. Libyan government officials confirm that the jet carrying the Army Chief of Staff, the Ground Forces Chief, the head of military manufacturing, and the Chief of Staff's advisor has crashed. All on board were killed, according to Al Jazeera. So we had a lot of news yesterday and today. A lot of news to get to. I thought it was going to be a relaxed day, being Christmas Eve, but nope. Nope, there is no rest. No rest for the wicked. Anyway, we have a post from Rubio, where Rubio, he said on X that the United States is going to place sanctions on former EU officials and Europeans who are involved or were involved with various censorship NGOs in Europe, organizations and NGOs that would monitor free speech on behalf of Europe and the European Union. And they're going to place sanctions on these individuals, these European individuals. These are not bone crushing sanctions. These are more travel related sanctions, like visa bans. It's not going to be to the extreme like what the EU did to, say, Jacques Bod, right? It's not going to be going after banking and freezing accounts and assets and that stuff. It just means that if you're one of these individuals, at least my understanding of what Rubio and the State Department is doing, if you're one of these individuals that they've placed sanctions on, then you can't travel to the United States. You can't get a visa and travel to the U.S. I believe that is the extent of these sanctions for now. And one of the people that is going to be sanctioned is Thierry Breton. Remember that guy? He was the former EU commissioner in charge of speech and communication and media and stuff like that. I forgot his exact title, but that's what he was in charge of: information and communication and media. And he ushered in the European Union's DSA, the Digital 1984 Monitoring Free Speech Monitoring Platforms Act. And he ushered that in. And then he went after Musk. That's what you probably remember this guy from. He went after Musk, he went after X, and they got into an online argument over Twitter. On X, they got into an argument, and he published some letter warning Musk a day before that he would be fined in Europe, or he would be blocked in Europe, a day before Musk was going to interview President Trump. Breton, I believe, was also giving an interview. This is when he left the EU. But I think he was giving an interview to French TV, and he talked about meddling in Romania, in the elections in Romania. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, but I remember him saying something about Romania at the time of the elections as well. Anyway, I might have that completely mixed up. But that's one of the guys that Rubio is sanctioning. He's no longer with the EU. But Rubio posted on X, let me find his post. For far too long, ideologues in Europe have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to punish American viewpoints they oppose. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship. Today, the State Department will take steps to bar leading figures of the global censorship industrial complex from entering the United States. We stand ready and willing to expand this list if others do not reverse course. And the Undersecretary of State posted on X the list of the individuals that are going to fall under this travel ban, visa sanction. And she also said that at the moment, they're not banning or sanctioning European government officials or EU officials, but she left it very open in her post. She said, at the moment, we're not going after current EU officials or heads of government in Europe at the moment. So this is all about protecting the tech platforms, right? The US tech platforms, because the EU wants to fine them and wants to police their speech. And they're placing fines on their global turnover. It's not just the turnover in Europe. The fine, if the EU decides to fine them, then it places a fine on their global turnover. But of course, the bans, if they were to be banned, like if X was going to be banned, it would only be banned in Europe. So they would ban it in Europe, they would fine it because of whatever speech laws they have, or whatever monitoring censorship laws that they decide to put in place against say X. And they would take a cut of their global turnover, but it would be inaccessible in Europe, on European EU territory. But that's what this is about. This is about the DSA, the Digital Service Act, and it's about going after U.S. tech platforms, protecting the U.S. tech platforms. Trump administration fires warning shots over big tech regulations. Yeah, don't you dare regulate us. That's the problem that the EU has. Is that the master is not going to tolerate the vassal going after one of their big tech companies' money, right? And the big tech companies, of course, they've lobbied the Trump administration, and they probably told the Trump administration, "Come on, we can't allow this to happen." And the Trump administration is going to go after the EU. And so the EU is stuck. They've got this conflict with the United States, which is escalating. But they're also a vassal to the United States. And they're trying to get some money from the big tech companies, and they're trying to pretend as if to exert some sort of sovereignty. Right? Every now and again, they make it as if they're sovereign from the United States, but the United States is going to tell them, sit back down. Sit back down. Who are you to regulate us? And Trump, he even put on pause the $40 billion investment plan that he agreed on with Stammer in the UK. Remember that? About a month or two ago, they agreed to this $40 billion US investment in the UK for technology and AI and all of this stuff. Data centers, I don't know, all of these things, $40 billion. And that's been paused as well because of censorship and free speech, but it's really about regulations and going after the money of U.S. companies. So yeah, I said this in my video update yesterday, right? You're taking on the United States, EU. You've got the whole Greenland thing going on as well now, so you have that to worry about. You have a conflict with Russia. You're on terrible terms with China. I'm not in favor of any sanctions. I'm not in favor of sanctions. I'm not in favor of censorship. The sanctions have gotten out of control. The collective West has weaponized the sanctions. The United States started it, and they weaponized sanctions going many, many years back, many decades back. The EU got a taste for the sanctions, especially with the conflict with Russia. And they've been going sanctions crazy. And now you have the U.S. Now you have the U.S. sanctioning the EU. The EU even sanctions its own member states. Right? They've frozen 20 billion or something from Hungary. The whole thing has gotten way out of control. But there is no reverse gear. So that's where we are. And the EU is in a terrible position because they've pissed off everybody. They're isolated. Remember all the articles about Russia being isolated? Look who's isolated now. Look who's isolated. And if the United States decides to take Greenland, the irony to all of this is that it wasn't Russia that invaded the EU territory or NATO territory and took a part of the EU. It'll be the United States that takes a part of the EU. And the U.S. envoy for Greenland was on mainstream media in the United States, and he said, Jeff Landry, the current governor of Louisiana, he's the U.S. special envoy to Greenland, the Keith Kellogg of Greenland. He said that we, as the United States, don't try to take over countries. The United States doesn't go in there trying to conquer anybody or trying to take over anybody's country. Okay. Okay, whatever you say, Mr. Landry. If Trump is serious about taking Greenland, he's going to take Greenland. There's nothing Denmark can do about it. Absolutely nothing Denmark or the EU can do about it. Just like there's nothing the EU can do about these sanctions. They'll huff and they'll puff and they'll complain. And maybe Kaya Kallas will post something on X. But they can't do anything, and they'll never name the United States. Just like yesterday's post on X, where Kallas talked about what's happening with Greenland, and this is not what partners do, blah, 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 whatever. Too scared to call out the United States. So what is Medvedev saying about all of this? What is Medvedev saying about all of this drama going on? Yesterday, I talked about how Pistorius, the defense minister of Germany, how he said that there's going to be no war with NATO, Russia and NATO, and Alexander Stubb said the same thing. No, there's going to be no war with NATO, Russia, so everyone needs to calm down, calm the rhetoric down. And we even had this morning a Polish parliament member, a Polish former politician, I forgot the guy's name, but he said the same thing. He said that there's going to be no NATO-Russia war. Everyone needs to calm down and stop saying that we're going to enter into some sort of hot war with Russia. So what does Medvedev say about all of this? This is what he posted on X. The European peacemakers are surprising. Pistorius said he doesn't believe war will break out between NATO and Russia. And Stubb admitted our country has no interest in attacking alliance members. So what happened? Sobering up, or have the Christmas holidays simply begun? Yeah, but Putin is weaponizing the wolves to go into Finland, right? Don't forget about weaponizing the wolves, Mr. Medvedev. Anyway, that was his post. The military situation in Ukraine is what's driving all of this panic from the collective West, from the Europeans. It's what's driving all of the weaponization of sanctions. And Russia continues to advance. And it's advancing very quickly in the Zaporozhye region. It's opened up a new front in Sumy. Zelensky is saying in his recently published peace plan that Russia needs to withdraw from Sumy and from the Zaporozhye region. Guleapole, Russia needs to withdraw from these regions. And the Europeans, Carl Bildt, I don't know, does Carl Bildt hold any office in Europe, or is he at some sort of think tank or something now? But anyway, Carl Bildt, who's not a fan of Russia or Putin, for many, many decades, he's despised Russia and Putin. He is saying that Ukraine has captured Kupiansk. I wonder if the military dares to tell Putin, Russia, that they have lost Kupiansk to Ukraine after he announced it had been captured by Russian forces. And then he shows a map, which tells you nothing. A map which tells you nothing. But that's what he's posted. A Ukraine-friendly map. I'm going off of what the Russian Ministry of Defense is saying. And the general staff, they say that they are in control of Kupiansk. And Putin said as much just the other day during his annual Q&A. He actually said that there's 3,500 Ukrainian soldiers trapped in Kupiansk. We'll find out. We will find out as the days and weeks go along what's happening in Kupiansk. But Carl Bildt, he is saying that Ukraine has captured Kupiansk, and this is the mindset of the Europeans, right? This is the mindset that they have with this conflict. Just a little bit more, and Russia's going to collapse. The Russian economy is not doing well. There's a stalemate on the front lines. The Russians are not really advancing that much, so let's just keep on going and going. Of course, now the Europeans, as Alexander rightly noted in his video update yesterday, and as Orban noted in his speech yesterday, now the Europeans are on the hook for 90 billion euros. And that's going to be in the form of a loan and a bond. And investors are going to demand that money to be paid back one of these days. And so if Ukraine loses and Ukraine collapses, the EU is screwed, right? Because that loan is contingent on a Ukraine victory. And as Orban noted, that loan makes it so that the European Union is invested in the war, monetarily invested in the war, because they've got 90 billion that's going to have to be paid back to someone. So anyway, Alexander explained this in his video update from yesterday, so definitely check that out. Ukraine media actually tracked Zelensky's travels over the year. And boy, did he travel a lot. He traveled a lot. Is he even a resident of Ukraine anymore? Or is he a tax resident of somewhere else? Because he was outside of Ukraine more than he was inside of Ukraine. Ukraine media have found out that Zelensky made 50 diplomatic trips abroad this year. This was reported by the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry, and the data are up to date as of December 8th and do not include 6 more visits in just the last 2 weeks. So 56 diplomatic trips in the last year. That's a lot of trips. That is a lot of trips. 56 trips in 1 year outside of Ukraine. Zelensky, he published a book. And in the first page of this book, Zelensky, who's the Ukraine ambassador to the UK, and someone who many people believe is preparing to run for president. By the way, in Zelensky's 20-point peace plan, he says that once Russia withdraws from Ukraine and agrees to everything in his 20-point peace plan, then Ukraine can hold elections. And many believe that Zelensky is already preparing to take over as president, as he is ambassador to London. But in this book that he published, on the first page, it says, "I will be the last to leave Kiev. I will not surrender alive." Yeah, you were definitely not the last to leave. You were the first to go. You were one of the first to jump ship. Zelensky, Reznikov, then followed by Kalua Kuleba. So I'll give you that. You were definitely one of the first to jump ship. That's for sure. So let's get to the big story. This is the big one, and this is hard to keep up. This is very, very hard to keep up with, because the information just is coming out just like a fire hose of information. I can't keep up. So I'll try to get to the important parts of the Epstein document release, up to what I can get to, what I remember, because there's so many files that are coming out now, and so many people are looking over these files. And of course they're redacted, but they're redacted. But when you copy and paste the files that were released, and you put them into another document, like Word or something like that, the redactions go away. And there's videos all over the interwebs, all over social media, showing people actually copying and pasting what the FBI released, and then pasting it into another word processor program or something like that, Google Docs or whatever, and the redactions go away. So I don't know how they redacted. I don't know how they redacted these documents, the FBI. Some people are actually saying they redacted these documents with Adobe. That's how they redacted everything. So now people are going through a lot of the documents. A lot of the redactions are gone. Some of the redactions remain. And we're getting all kinds of information that is, well, it's a mixed bag. I'll say it's a mixed bag. I think a lot of stuff that has come out so far is fake and dubious, but a lot of other stuff is pretty damning. Pretty damning, and it leads to more and more questions. What was going on? Who is this Epstein guy? and what was going on. There's photos, allegedly photos of him with an Austrian passport, or I think it was an Austrian passport. But let me see if I have it bookmarked. Different name, different country's passport. Yeah, an Austrian passport under the name Marius Fortini, that claimed he lived in Saudi Arabia. I can't confirm this. I didn't. I just saw this on X, so I haven't seen that in one of the documents. But okay. I mean, he has different passports, different names. What does that tell you about him? But some of the stuff that is coming out that a lot of people are talking about, a lot of the stuff appears to be fake. And one of the documents that is getting a lot of attention is the letter, allegedly a letter that he wrote to the Nassar guy. He was the coach of women's gymnastics, if I remember, and he was found guilty. I believe was found guilty of abuse. I might be getting this story wrong, but that is the guy that allegedly Epstein wrote a letter to, like a handwritten letter to, 3 days or a couple of days before he self-deleted. He self-deleted, right? And a lot of people are going over this letter, and they're saying this is not real. This has to be fake. Something's going on here. It's very odd that Epstein would write something to Nassar. That right there is a red flag, right? And in the letter, why are people talking about this letter? Because there's a mention of Trump. It's very, very suspicious. The Department of Justice, they actually posted on X, the Department of Justice is currently looking into the validity of this alleged letter from Epstein to Larry Nassar, and we will follow up as soon as possible. In the meantime, 3 facts stand out. The postmark on the envelope is Virginia, not New York, where Jeffrey Epstein was jailed at the time. The return address listed the wrong jail where Epstein was held and did not include his inmate number, which is required for outgoing mail, and the envelope was processed 3 days after Epstein's death. Yeah, the whole thing looks very suspicious. And he mentions Trump in this letter. Says something very bad about Trump to Nassar. So I think this doesn't look legit. Doesn't look legit at all. And I would like to know who wrote this letter then, because someone is trying to smear Trump, right? Someone's trying to make Trump look bad by writing this letter and handing it to the FBI. This was in the FBI documents, the DOJ documents that were released. Now there is a lot of other information that is implicating, is tying Trump to this group of people, and we are talking about a group of people, and I'll get to that in a second as well. It appears that Trump was using the Epstein plane a lot more than he said, and we also have allegedly some sort of interaction that took place at a party, and then Trump invited everybody, including Epstein, back to Mar-a-Lago. So this refutes Trump's claim, the narrative that Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, because this event took place well after the event where they say Trump banned Epstein. It took place at a Christmas party in 2000. Around 2000, Redacted attended an Epstein party where someone repeatedly said Donald Trump invited them all to a party at Mar-a-Lago. Redacted told Villeneuve she wanted to go, but Villeneuve warned her it wasn't that kind of party. It was for prostitutes. The timing is notable. Trump had just opened his modeling agency in 1999, and not long after, models began describing the reality behind the scenes. So that document has been released. And then you have the big one. I think this is the big one. And there's a lot of other documents that are being released, and everyone's going through all of these documents, and it's just so much information to take in, information overload. But I think the big revelation from yesterday was that it looks like there were co-conspirators with Epstein and Maxwell. And CoffeeZilla, Dropsite, they worked together to uncover this. And basically what happened is that there was a hidden document. So there was a release of a batch of 7 documents. And then CoffeeZilla and Dropsite, what they did is in the URL, 7 index batches of documents, right? And what they did in the URL, they wrote, they changed the URL and they wrote document 8, right? So you have document 7 and they just changed it to 8. And a whole batch of documents came up that were not listed, that were not indexed, but they had an 8th document batch. And in these documents, there's communication with the FBI, to the FBI, between the FBI, and it basically says that there are 10 co-conspirators, and the FBI was aware of this, and they were actually at one point in time going after these people, and then it just kind of got dropped. Let me read you what Dropsite said, so I don't get anything wrong, because I could be butchering this. Breaking, new reporting by CoffeeZilla, working with JMail and Dropsite News, shows the Federal Bureau of Investigation inadvertently exposed more than 11,000 previously unreleased Jeffrey Epstein documents, internally labeled Volume 8. They were accessible through an unindexed FBI URL. The files strongly appear to contradict repeated claims by the FBI and the United States Department of Justice that there was no evidence to pursue uncharged third parties. The documents reference at least 10 alleged co-conspirators, grand jury subpoenas issued across multiple states, and notes indicating federal interest beyond Epstein and Maxwell, including Les Wexner, the billionaire former CEO of Victoria's Secret and Epstein's longtime patron. Yeah, when they talk about multiple states, one of those states is Ohio, and I believe that's where Wexner was. And what makes this even more damning is that this document that was uncovered, or these 11,000 documents, is that the names of these conspirators, these co-conspirators, are redacted. And this goes against the court order, right? Because the DOJ, the FBI, was instructed to redact the victims, not other people. Protect the victims. But it looks like they're redacting the names of these co-conspirators. So I'll leave it there. And I think this is going to be a long-running story. This is not going to go away. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of documents. And everyone is going through these documents. The entire internet is going through these documents. And as I said, some stuff is suspect, but other stuff is pretty interesting and opens up a lot more questions and provides certain answers. So that's where we are. All this stuff should have been released on Trump's first day. Should have been released then. Absolutely. And the DOJ, the FBI, they are messing everything up. Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, they are just bungling everything up with this release. That's the way it looks. So good news for the Trump administration. The U.S. economy grew 4.3%. It's huge growth. Trump posted about it on Truth Social. Q3 GDP came in at 4.3%, blowing past expectations of 3.2%. 60 of 61 Bloomberg economists got it wrong, but Trump and some other geniuses got it right. The success is due to good government and tariffs. Government spending is strong. Net exports are way up. Imports and trade deficits are way down. And there is no inflation because of my tax bill. The great, big, beautiful bill. And tariffs, investment is setting records. The Trump economic golden age is full steam ahead. You haven't seen anything yet. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. So very, very strong economic news. Q3 results, they came in late because of the government shutdown. That's why we're getting Q3 now, so late. But that's Q3. And it is very, very positive, strong economic news for the United States and for the Trump administration. If you didn't have the Epstein headache, then he would be celebrating and everyone would be talking about this economic news. But everyone is talking about Epstein. When you dig into the numbers, it does look like it's a very strong economy for the 10% that do have money, that are doing well. The 10% that's doing well are doing better, right? And they're fueling most of this growth. The other 90%, when you go into the numbers, struggling. So it does look like it's the very, very wealthy that are driving this growth, and the growth is coming from health insurance, spending on health insurance. About the surge in personal consumption, it's all health insurance, according to Zero Hedge. AI investment, services, these are the things that are driving the growth, the 4.3%. But still, big numbers, but it does look like a K-shaped recovery. If you were doing good, then you're doing a lot better, and you're going to continue to do a lot better. If you were not doing good, then things are not looking so good going forward. I would summarize it as that. But Lutnick, he was celebrating. He said the U.S. economy grew 4.3%. What that means is that Americans overall, all of us, are going to earn 4.3% more money. That's not how GDP works, Mr. Lutnick. So I'll just leave it there. Anyway, the U.S. announces that tariffs on Chinese semiconductors will be 0% until 2027. So we had that bit of breaking economic news, because Trump is talking about the growth being fueled. A part of the growth is being fueled by tariffs, the good economic performance because of his Liberation Day tariffs. Well, it's not really. And those tariffs are disappearing, as is the case with China and the semiconductors. So some more news, and we'll wrap up this Christmas Eve video. A lot of news yesterday. A lot of news dropped. And we have some news from Venezuela. The escalation continues. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. military is moving more hardware, more assets to the region and to the Caribbean. So the military is building things up in Venezuela. Not good. But this is a crisis of Trump's own doing. And Trump yesterday, at his Mar-a-Lago press conference, he was asked about the oil from the tanker that was seized. Journalists asked him about the oil. What are you going to do with the oil? And Trump told the journalists, "We're going to keep it. We're going to keep it." Trump said, "Aye, matey, we're going to keep that oil because I like it. I'm Pirate Trump." If you like this video, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. But yeah, that's what Trump said. "I'm keeping the oil, matey." So piracy, piracy, everybody. Sanctions, tariffs, piracy on the high seas, freezing assets. What a world we live in. And Maloney said things are going to get worse in 2026. 2025 was bad. Just wait until 2026. Things are going to get worse. What do you know, Maloney, that you're not telling us? Globalist NATO Maloney, what do you know that you are not telling us? So the other tanker that they're trying to seize, they can't get it. I talked about this a couple of days ago. There's another tanker coming into Venezuela, not leaving Venezuela, but coming into Venezuela. And the U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. military was chasing this tanker, and they're trying to seize this tanker. And it's been 3 days, and they still can't get this tanker. It's like the Roadrunner and the Coyote. They're chasing the tanker, and they can't quite catch it. What does that look like? I don't even know what that looks like, to be quite honest. A big oil tanker, and and the U.S. Coast Guard is chasing after it, and they can't get it, so they can take the oil. Right? This is Iranian oil, I believe, and it was going from Iran, from Iran to Venezuela. But the oil that Trump's keeping, I believe, is Chinese oil. Do I have that right? Is Trump stealing China's oil? Oh boy. Buckle up, everybody. So let's do some clown worlds and we can wrap this video up. And let's start things off with Euractiv. They published an article with the title, Russian Fish Could Be Slipping Onto Your Christmas Table. Despite restrictions, the EU still buys Russian fish worth hundreds of millions of euros each year. Oh boy, Putin is weaponizing the Christmas table. He's weaponizing the fish. So people might be eating Russian fish. That's bad. That is bad. Very, very bad. If you're in Europe and you're eating fish, be careful. It could be Russian fish. Oh boy. Not good. Not good. Oh, there was another video. I'm just looking at the news feed right now. There was another video of fake Epstein self-deletion that got into the DOJ release as well. And it was fake. A video of Epstein self-deleting, and somehow it got into the DOJ dump, and that's fake as well. Yeah, so it's a big mess with this document release. There's a lot of fake stuff in there as well. That might be a feature, not a bug. So anyway, Trump-class battleship construction won't begin until 2030s. With Trump-class construction many years off, the survival of a program to build such large and expensive warships is even more questionable. So Trump was saying that the two Trump-class battleships with laser guns and hypersonic weapons and laser beams and flux capacitors, that these battleships would be ready by 2032 of them. And now we're getting reports that they're not even going to start building these ships until 2030. It's got laser beams, as Dr. Evil said. It does seem like we're in a movie, huh? It does seem like we are in some sort of an Austin Powers movie. It's got a laser beam. Anyway, I'm going to end it there, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We're on X, we're on Rumble, we're on Telegram. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. And all those links are in the description box down below. And please go to Substack as well. Definitely follow us on Locals. Definitely follow us on Substack. We're going to have some pretty interesting things for 2026. So you definitely want to jump into Substack and to Locals and follow us there. I will see everyone tomorrow on Christmas Day. Until then, take care.